Deck building in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like an art, an outlet for creativity, mathematics, innovations, and logic. And I pride myself on my cutting-edge, methodical, and synergistic deck building. However, crafting a well-designed deck is not an easy feat to accomplish, and many duelists come to me seeking help to salvage the train wreck that is their deck. So on Decklist Nightmares, you can submit your deck lists to me, and each week I'll review 3 abominable deck lists and attempt to transform those monstrosities into an efficient and cohesive deck list. Welcome to Decklist Nightmares. Now before we begin, I want to remind you guys we're on the Jesse Cotton Highlights channel, so if you haven't already, please subscribe to catch all the further updates of this series and some of the best moments from my stream. As well as if you're interested in submitting your own deck list, you can do so with the link in the description. And lastly, this is supposed to be a play on Kitchen Nightmares by Gordon Ramsay. So while I will be providing real advice, I will also do so in a pretty brutal fashion, how you may see Gordon do on, say, Hell's Kitchen.
It's a bit like your brain. Not only is it shrunk, but it's disappeared.
So remember, this is all for the sake of entertainment, and I'm not trying to be vicious for the sake of destroying somebody's ego. And if you're going to submit your deck list, be prepared it could happen to you. With that said, let's have some fun and fix some deck lists. All right, we are back with another week of Decklist Nightmares. And I'm excited to see what garbage you guys have given me. I'm hoping for nothing as bad as the Goblin deck last weekend, where you can tell it was just AI inspired type of shit. I believe you guys can give me creativity with actual, like finesse behind it. Have like an interesting synergy, not just soulless crap, because that's a lot of what I've been served and I'm not fond of that. So I guess let's dive straight in and let me see what the first thing that has been picked out to us by our editor. The first deck highlighted for me is by Forgery. For hire Snake Eye Millennium Horus, and then it cuts off. So for all I know, there's actually more engines in there, and it got cut off. Inspired by your own Crystal Beast Snake Eye pile. Oh, I like the sound of that. It's just an all gas, no brakes deck that can bridge multiple engines to abuse Folgo, your favorite card. That is true. Folgo is a fantastic card, using different engines to bait hand traps and interactions. Many different types of bodies to make Donner and Folgo. A monster with different types equals for hard combo. Or 4 monsters different types, yes. Using grass because theirs, and then it cuts off. 60 card pile, I love it. I love the piles. Let's take a second to really breathe it all in, in, out. Okay, so this is a TCG deck list I can immediately see. And we've got a shit ton of things going on. Rainy Days says, what the fuck is this trash? You see trash? I see brilliance. This side deck, though, let's not talk about that. I don't know what the fuck is going on there. Okay, so we playing Destrudo, 1 Witch. Interesting. I play 1 Witch as well, but I have nothing better to put in. I have to wonder if that's true here. Forest cards, and then 1 Souls only. Solstice Ascending Witch, I take it. Okay. With goods, digs, the 1 Sark. We got the 1 Mayhem, which revives 1. The rookie specialist from deck. Set Row. I don't know if I like this card. I think Set Row is a pretty bad card. Thrust, Talons, Grass, Wanteds, Statue, and Wiz. Okay. Wait, why is Wiz in the deck? I guess it's a spell trap negate. I don't know if this is good enough. All right, extra deck, we got AFD and Crystal Wing. Access code, whatever. And then a bunch of link monsters. So one of the best cards before anything else here to use in these types of decks, in my experience, is yugioh. The draw 4 is just like criminally broken. I don't know how much it comes up here, but it's a great way of using your bodies. I guess Folgo can kind of replace that. I will note, however, that you're not playing Zombie Vampire, and as such, your Horus cards don't feel great. I mean, I understand it's still 2 types to turn into your for hire monsters. Vampires are a great way of eating hand traps, especially in a 60 card deck. I think you need something to chew up disruption, be baits. Where do we proceed onwards from there? So biggest thing with these decks as well is deciding what level of disruption is necessary and what to win more. And like Crystal Beast, the deck I have, can do many more things for disruption. For example, something that I often do when I'm doing for YouTube, because it's more flashy and more casual bait, is actually summoning Rainbow Dragon and making Overdrive. You can also do Silver Hat Rabbit. You can do a lot, right? The bodies you have is excessive. With that power comes great responsibility. You need to be able to show restraint. And not because you need to give your opponent a chance, but because adding more cards to your extra deck and main deck that reduce flexibility and consistency for the sake of increasing end board that doesn't need to be stronger is foolish. So in this case, the card that I'm not psyched about is Angel Statue Asaroon. Not Asaroon, Asaroon. Ugh. Not a card I love. And the same with Wiz, right? Because Wiz is essentially filling a similar position here, where it's an alternative way of bolstering your field alongside Raphael. I don't know to what degree you need that, so I'd be inclined to perhaps drop it off. One thing I want to note here is you have very few normal summons in this deck, which I think is good, but what if we take advantage of that, right? I mean, I guess you have Rex and Dig. I guess you have Rex and Dig. That's 6 normal summons. You know what? That's actually fine. I was about to say, like, what if we, instead of Rex and Dig, did something else? But Rex Dig's probably fine. Another way to go about it if you want to lean more into Sprite cards is play a Beckoning Beast package with Yubel and Throne. You don't have to play the Phantom cards either. It could just be Thrones and such, and it also lines up well with the Field Spell synergy. We're using Black Garden to give them a monster for Fall Go draw turn 1. Most likely that is the game plan, yes. That is the reason for the Black Garden, which is cool. I wish the Crystal Beast cards did anything here for this deck. They don't, however. I mean, you could ramp up the number of Crystal Beast cards and play the rank 4 package to make Banshee. I understand, however, it's more bricks in the deck, so I don't think it's actually something you want to do. That's fine. There's a small Millennium package in here. We need to increase the size of that Millennium package. Potentially, they're not bad extenders at all. Something I'm concerned about here is grass. I think grass is kind of just not that good in this type of deck. I'm not sure what you're really hoping to mill if you're gonna get good value here. That there isn't really that much. Like, if you look at Grave Effect, it's Destrudo, Jet Synchron, Rex, which you should be accessing anyways every game. So the shit graveyard effects of the Snake Eye cards, and then Rainbow Bridge and Black Go. So it's not many. I expect Grass to be a pretty poor performer among this deck, as well as in a deck like this where you want to be able to search a lot of your cards. When you're milling everything, then you're actually getting nowhere. It's Branded Theory, Grass beats Ash, but in Branded it's different. That deck has a good ability to cycle its graveyard, and Grass doesn't do nothing. In this deck, there's a big fear that Grass does nothing, and milling Destrudo, Jet Synchron is significantly worse than milling Branded Fusion and Retribution. On that note, I have to wonder, beyond the grass, if it's worth playing these cards like Destrudo and Jet Synchron. Extender-wise, they feel pretty bad. And furthermore, we get to the cards like Souls and then 1 Jet. These are one-ofs in the deck. Now, when we're approaching pile card decks like this, we're always gonna ask ourselves, why are they a one-of? And the answer I always want to hear in this position is it's searchable. If it's not searchable, I really don't want to see it being played at more than 1. I want to see it being played at more than 1, rather. Sorry. Or not played, period. As far as my eyes can tell, this Souls and the Jet Synchron really don't do anything. I think that's a big problem for this deck. And I'd want to find other extenders that are more effective and then just play more of them, right? For example, you could just be playing more Witches, which shouldn't be a bad idea, right? There could be Azamina cards in here as well. And your extra deck is relatively open, right? Cards like Ancient Fairy Dragon and Crystal Wing aren't super important. AFD seems cool. I think Ancient Fairy Dragon's kind of overrated right now, though. Your field spells, while are good, no single field spell in your deck is actually that broken, unless you're putting that heavy of an emphasis on Black Garden for Fall Go. But I can't say it impresses me enough that I'd want to go full send in that line. When I think about it in that way, it leaves me not wanting to play these one-ofs in the deck. I also wonder on the Sky Striker package here why it has to be so dense. Specifically Double Anchor, Shark Cannon. That's a lot more utility than you maybe need. Those cards you'll draw them, right? Because the way you have it, you're as likely to draw Anchor and Shark Cannon as you are to draw Engage. And what that means is a lot of the time you're drawing a card you don't really want to draw. There's a lot more engine requirements than you want. And those cards by themselves are not good enough to keep up on their own. So you shouldn't be putting them in when you can't make them work. Even in Striker, these cards are not that effective. So Widow Anchor in Striker obviously is better, but Shark Cannon, like, its use by itself is just not very good. And without the flexibility of actually playing Striker cards, you have to use it first. They're bad in the fields and they're bad disruptions. You really only want it if you're searching it. I think I would really lighten the load in terms of the Striker cards here, because Drones is a good card and the utility of 1 Anchor is probably good enough. You don't need more cards that really don't help you, because that's what we're going to likely see when we have it built in this way. As well as our non-engine here seems pretty scarce. I think you could work in more non-engine. So cards like Droplet are really good, especially alongside graveyard effects and spell cards, as you can go like Chain Spell, Chain Droplet. Or if you have like a wanted, you go like Foolish Radial Goods, Chain Wanted, Chain Droplet, send a monster, hit 3 cards. Is like a phenomenal line. Call By should also be in this deck. at least right now. That may change in the future metagames, but it's solid in this meta, and it's good for Droll, which this deck will lose against. Other than that, we're looking for other powerful engine cards that can really produce multiple bodies at a high rate. And what else can do that? Some stuff to consider could be Kashtira cards. It fits in with the field spell line. Fiendsmith cards actually just should be in here, right? Like Fiendsmith cards develop bodies incredibly easy, even if they are fiends. Lets you convert links really well, as well as it provides Caesar, which can give you, protection from Nibiru, something that otherwise these decks struggle against, right? And even if it's just one Fiendsmith card, right? That's really all you need, the one Engraver, to be able to convert 2 monsters into the Caesar. I think on the topic of the Snake Eye cards, you're actually not including Bonfire or 1-for-1, both of which are phenomenal cards that I cannot see why you'd want to avoid, right? Like, think about it. Bonfire just does so much, because you can go Bonfire for Poplar at original send off the Poplar, summon Oak, or make Anima first, sorry, and then send off the Poplar, get Oak, and then sack off for Flameburge, and then make Donner with the Flameburge and the Anima, revive 2, and then you have only 1 type missing from Princess, or for your full go lineup, right? You have 2 Snake Eyes. Okay, so you need 1 more extender from there. Let's play 2 Animas. And that's not to say you can't play 2 Animas. Like, if you deem that part of your combo, you could. If you play Jet Synchron, and this would be the reason to play it, is if you play Bonfire, because then you get to go at the Jet Synchron there, normal Jet, and that sets up the combo in a way where you can full go just like that. If we're leaning in with this many discards, by the way, and we are deciding field spells are important, rather than playing Destrudos, I'd rather maximize this on Witches. I'd keep the Jet Synchron in, and then the Snake Eye Ash can search it with Bonfire and 1-for-1, and then I'd play Droplets, and I'd play multiple Bridges, right? Because this is how you power through stuff with Engine. How important are the Striker cards here? They seem not that important. Honestly, I would cut them all together, but I can see the value as providing 2 different types of bodies for Full Glow or Donner. I think leaning into Snake Eye cards is more important. But yeah, I think a big difference here between this and the Crystal Beast deck is your spell cards aren't as good, so you're not as heavy on Engine before your core theme, in this case being the Fur Hire. So you have more space to put in the generic cards, the Horus cards. And end up with this many discard outlets, then I probably would lean into multiple copies of Bridge. Bridge is such a good card, especially if you're going Star Yugioh, you gotta throw the cards back. And if Black Garden is not important enough, then I think we can slim down this Engine altogether, right? Because that's kind of where I have to leave the description up to the viewer and to the original deck builder, how important these pieces of the combo are. I think Ravine as well, same thing. Destrudo, which is a poor value extender. Remember, yes, extenders are cool and utility is cool, but think of how often you actually need the utility, right? Utility for the sake of utility, but it's not a card that actually comes up very often, does not mean it's worth playing. It's still something you want to avoid. And in this case, we're going to see that a lot with Ravine. Like, I can't see Ravine being a frequent occurrence amongst this. The reality is, while there's nothing innovative being said by me here, the way I built the Crystal Beast deck should be the template you use for this deck, as that is the approach I would take. The biggest difference between those 2 decks is you're not backed up by a crazy number of broken spell cards, so you're going to be relying on a few different other mechanics, as well as your use of generic bodies is better. So leaning more into the Millennium cards is a good idea, as well as you can play other engines like Horus or whatever, and all these things I think can complement Bridge and so forth. But yeah, I mean, I'm not offering up anything crazy. I think that the engines need to be fine-tuned a bit, as well as I guess the biggest takeaway I want to be taken away from here is also control the one-ofs that aren't really important, and not hyper fixate on utility, because there is always ways to increase your board, increase searchability, and get some cool stuff going on, but focus on what you actually need versus what's just flashy and unnecessary. Next up, we have got Jubes the Dude, Gunkan gear, Vanquish Soul with Gunkan Sous Ships. Wow. The Sous Ships help consistency when revealing fires for the cost of Vanquish Soul effects. Essentially helpful when activating Jiaolong to search Snow or Dust Devil. It can also be used to make King Dempsey to search for Raisin, and be banished off of Small World to Bridge using Retaliating Sea. Retaliating Sea, okay. And then it cuts off. Interesting. I'm scared. I wonder if this is going to be raw, like sushi.
The fucking bass is fucking raw!
But let's take a quick look. Gunkan gear. Okay, where do we start? So whenever we take a mid-range deck and add supplementary engines to it, the reason why it's not meta to do this, and always the biggest problem, and I'm going to address this before we get onto the actual deck itself. And this is the biggest thing. It's going to hold back you from playing decks like this. These mid-range decks, the reason they play a heavy number of non-engine like they do is because they thrive in that environment with a lot of non-engine, because their ceiling itself is not that high. They need supplementary cards, but they're also good at playing with very few resources. So when we take them out of that element, they're essentially trying to be a combo deck, but they're not designed to be combo decks. They can't function that well as combo decks. And this is a clear case of that. And for me, that's what prevents me from wanting to do this outside of anything just being cute. But okay, let's take a quick gander at these cards, and we can decide for ourselves how useful things are. So we've got 2 Sharis, and I'm going to pull up Dueling Book, I guess, next to it here so we can read the Gunkan's cards real quick, because they are a little bit interesting. So then we're playing 3 of this one, Shari Red, which becomes Shari while in the hand deck, graveyard, or on field. And can reveal another Gunkan Shari in your hand to summon this card, and then special 1 Gunkan free deck except Shari. It gets effects, and then you exceed summon with it. So it's like Exorcist or Martha. This is a good card because it gets you into Dempsey. It's consistency. But it also gets you into other Gunkan XYZs, which are pretty cool. We've also got 3 copies of Uni, which is reveal on the Gunkan monster card in your hand, special this card, and then special the revealed monster, other put it on top. Okay, yeah. So this is like special both from your hand. It's just whatever. And then this one, I didn't play that one right. 3/3, and that's it. Okay. Interesting concept. I don't think you got it quite right. I'm not feeling mean today, guys. I'm not feeling mean. Do I need to be meaner, chat? I feel like I'm not being mean enough. No need to be mean? Well, if I'm gonna be Chef Ramsay, then I have to obliterate you, right? So let me ask you, duelist, where is painful decision? That's the thing that's paining me right now. It's Thanksgiving. Oh, but you see, I'm Canadian. And I got inspired by the last deck, so I was in a good mood, right? Because it was really appealing to my combo sense. And I can feel the bubbles of anger and hatred rising up inside me. I don't even hate Vanquish Soul. In fact, this deck's concept is cool. Let's turn up the notch a bit. Where's Painful Decision? If you're not familiar, let's read Painful Decision real quick. Painful Decision says you can send 1 level 4 level normal monster from your deck to the graveyard. And if you do, you can add a fire monster, sorry, not fire, add 1 monster with the same name from your deck to your hand. And if you remember the Suship cards, this Shari here, this one, counts as the same name as this one while in the deck. So we can just search it. So if we want to see it, we should be playing it, right? That's the logic, right? And then you can make either Dempsey immediately with that card, or you can do something else. The only Gunkan Suship in their extra deck is the rank 5 one, which I believe is the negate. Let's give it a quick read here. This one says if you use Shari, draw a card, and if it uses Uni, it can attack directly and then it negates. Yeah. This one is add a Gunkan spell trap, and this one was the Ikra is it can make attacks twice. Okay, so they're making this because they want the negates. Okay, I'm trying to think of what the line of play we want to make here, because the Gunkan cards have potential, right? Suship cards aren't necessarily bad. However, they do lack the clear focus and obvious kind of play pattern that would make it a meta deck. For me, I want to focus on Shari Red. Shari Red to me is the only actual good card in the deck. It essentially is a 1 card XYZ, and that's all we need it to be. And I want to maximize it. I'm deciding if it's even worth playing Uni here. And these are painful decisions. So the problem with all these cards inherently is they all require you to have at least 2 Suship cards in order to play, right? And if we go to the probability calculator and we put in the math in this deck, and this is where this entire thing falls apart, is let's say we have hand size at 5, and we have 8 of our Suship cards. The chance of drawing 2 to 8 is at about 25%. The chance of drawing 1, and just 1, is 43%. And that means a lot of the time that we are trying to do anything with this deck, we end up doing nothing. And the cards in hand really only act as fires. Now, obviously, Smallwold exists in here as well, but Smallwold is a card you want to be adding Vanquish Soul cards for, right? And that's kind of where I'm falling apart with the strategy here, because I feel like the Suship engine being a 2-card combo package, not a 1-card combo package, really is going to require us to commit a heavy amount of cards to our deck that I'm not thrilled about. 8 hand traps bothers you if you can even counter Talon and sees a hand trap. But yeah, I mean, this deck is very skimp on non-engine. That's the point I was making before. And yep, there's 8. That's really not enough for Vanquish Soul. If we add 3 painful decisions, this number goes to 11. And 40% of the time, we'll draw exactly 1. And 42% of the time, we're going to draw 2 or more. Those numbers still suck, even with painful decision. And that's not counting for the double painful decisions or the double sharis, which don't do anything. I'm wondering here, how do we make this work? How do we make this even remotely meaningful? I think the answer is simple. This deck is deceivingly a cute strategy and it looks cool. And I admire the effort that's put in to make it look like a cohesive deck because it doesn't look bad. But in reality, this deck is fully raw. And the more I think about it and we do the math, this deck just does not work. It just does not work. The numbers really push this deck out of being playable. If you want to make it playable, I want to play the other Suship cards, right? Because you have 2 options. I think you play no Uni, and you play 3 Shari Reds, like 2 or 3 Sharis, and then decisions, and that's it. And essentially, you're just trying to pair those together, and if you draw just 1, they act as a random fire in your hand. Or we add a whole slew of Suships to the deck, so you play Catch of the Day. Catch of the Day needs you to also have 1 in hand, which is important. And then they have to declare, and then you reveal 1, and your opponent will declare a gunkan name. You may have to help them with that. I don't know how that works in TCG. And then you can add it to your hand. But the problem with that is it requires you to play every single Suship because of the name one you don't have. This card doesn't do anything. And for the most part, it doesn't matter really which one you get to your hand. It still searches. And you can play the other gunkans as well, like Ukura, which is just summons itself for free if you control one. And you can see how this sets up your rank 4 plays. That requires you to get to a point where this deck either is above 40 or it effectively has 0 non-engine. And that just doesn't work. This is my biggest gripe with this deck. Other than that, Prosperity is something that can be included in here. But I see otherwise no sort of salvation here. Because otherwise this deck looks fine. But it's weird how on a surface level the rank 4 and fire access that Dempsey gives and the Suships gives shouldn't gel so perfectly with Vanquish Soul, but it really doesn't actually work. And I almost want to say just abandon this strategy, move on, and let it die. Which feels bad to say, because this is complete tripe. I feel so bad saying that, because unlike other decks that were slammed together and look completely random, I can see the thought process here. I can see the intent, and I can see the synergy. It's not actually practical. And no matter what I do, I can't save this. Wouldn't Banshee make sense if he goes for this combination? Yeah. Banshee's a good one too, but it's more engine. And a deck that really can't afford to play this much engine. As for the extra deck, especially if you're going this route, then we probably want to include rank 4s that are better at pushing the field. The one I'm specifically thinking about including is Exciton Knight, especially as the Shari Red ranks up immediately. So if we are pushing in the small package, let's say we're doing what I said, where you have the vanilla, 3 Shari Red, 3 decisions, add a Prosperity in, try squeeze that in, 42. Maybe you don't play the cash cards because you have enough fires. I think cut the cash cards, cut the Durendal. Try and make a little bit of space. And does that suffice? Add the Exciton in for a little bit of playability going second as well. And maybe we got a strategy there. Now, the math still shows us this is kind of shit. I think it is really our only answer. I will note the Retaliating Sea has no reason to be in here. Surely if you just reveal a Gunkan monster, you can reveal something else to get into, what's it called, into Rosin. So if you reveal red, you can reveal Pantera into Rosin. No, you can't reveal Pantera into Rosin. You can reveal Jiaolong into Rosin. Yeah, you reveal red, or you can reveal either of these into Jiaolong, right? And then into Rosin. So Retaliating Sea is a small rolled target I'm not thrilled with. I think you have enough small rolled capabilities without needing to do that. Yeah. Wait, actually, this whole thing doesn't work actually. Oh my god, I have to rethink everything. I misread this card because we learned about it today. Then you can apply this effect, special 1 Gunkan monster from your deck, except Shari, negates effect of any. So you can make one of these and get a draw. How are they summoning this? Oh god, the more I look, the more hard it gets. In my head, it was like you use the Shari Red, special from deck, and you make Dempsey, but no, you have to immediately make one of these rank 4s, not even 5s. But he doesn't even play any rank 4s. He's only playing the rank 5. So this doesn't actually work. Ikura plus Shirao gives you 3 level 3 rank 4s. The issue is using a normal summon is you can't normal summon Rosin Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the biggest problem. If you want to play a like small Vanquish Soul package in here and like trim down the tag outs like to 1 or whatever and focus on the 2-ship cards, you have to overhaul this entire deck. Put a lot of 2-ship cards in here so you get them consistently. And if you can go like Dempsey and you can dump Rosin to deck to grave and revive with Princess, that's like the only other thing I can see happening. But the play I mentioned doesn't even work. Where you go this Shari Red into Dempsey. It has to be Uni. I was too kind to this deck. Let's fucking get rid of this. It's ass. Next up, we've got Melina the Medic, Fang of Critias Labyrinth. You struggled figuring out what to cut down upon. Originally, the plan was to have 1 of each possible Fang and Critias target. However, you cut down to just 2 semi-decent ones. Plus, is practically the only way to search it outside of hard drawing it. Isn't the whole point of the Labyrinth cards you can search it with Lady Labyrinth? And Trap Trick. Main goal is to hopefully get out a Fang of Critias target and use Lab as a backup. I am not looking forward to this. Let's take a look. They mean searching the spell? Oh, we mean Fang of Critias. Fair. Oh god, dude, you didn't even craft the cards. Why is this 55 cards too? What? What even is that? Oh, that's the shit Labyrinth card. Is that setup Labyrinth? Oh god, man. Bro, if I brought Ryan on stream right now, I think he'd have a heart attack. You know, his favorite quote lately. Whenever he sees something he doesn't like, he says, "What a terrible day to have eyes." Maybe he'll go full Oedipus and he'll slash out his eyes or pull them out if he sees this, because why? Okay, so my biggest immediate gripes for this is how can you want to do something consistently and then not max out on consistency? If our kind of goal was to search for the pieces for Fang of Critias, why aren't we playing 3 Lady Labyrinths? The approach to this deck should be wholly and fully a combo Labyrinth deck. So Daruma Cannon, as good as it is a 2 of at best. Rollback is a 1 of. And we probably just leave it at that. As well, a lot of these other cards aren't entirely needed. I'm trying to think how you slim it down, because these decks are hard to slim down. Obviously, the setup Welcome Labyrinth and the goods I would not include, but that's beyond it. Playing 55, why not go to 60 and play Grass? Dude, don't give him any ideas. Let's not put that crap out there. Did they say they were cutting and only got to 55? They did say that. Okay, so before we go any further, let's read the cards on the Fang of Critias. If you aren't familiar with Fang of Critias, let's pull it up right here. Fang of Critias says it's always treated as Legendary Dragon Critias. And you can send 1 trap card in your hand if it feels a grave, listed on a fusion monster. Only be summoned with Fang of Critias, and then special summon the fusion monster, blah, blah, blah. Use 1 per turn. Is it searchable? Let's put it into the description section, see if it's searchable. It is not. So there are 4 targets to activate it with. 1 is Destruction Dragon, which uses Ring of Destruction. Once a turn, targeting 1 controls, destroy it, and then burn them for it. Cool. Demon Virus, which says if it summons all your opponent's hand, all monsters they control, and all cards they draw until the end of the 3rd turn, and destroy all monsters with 300 more attack. That card is actually good. Then we got Mirror Force Dragon, which is when a monster you control is targeted for an attack or bind opponent's card effect. Destroy all cards when it controls. Tyrant Burst says, I'm not even going to read this one. Okay, so our player here has chosen to include the Mirror Force Dragon and the Crush Card Virus Dragon. Mirror Force Dragon seems significantly worse than Crush Card Virus. I think Crush Card Virus should be the entire focus of this deck. And if you wanted an offensive one, I think actually Destruction Dragon would be better, as well as Ring of Destruction is just a better card than Mirror Force. So I'd like to go around that. I think this deck needs to be trimmed. The deck needs to have Prosperity. It needs to have 3 Ladies, and we'll go from there. This one I think we can replicate on our own in Master Duel, because I should have a lot of these cards. So let's hop into Master Duel and see what we can do. Let's put 3 of these in. So Fang Critias here, 3 of. We want to see this card. Let's put in Crush Card Virus Dragon. I want to put in Ring of Destruction Dragon, not Mirror Force. Now Labyrinth cards. And let's play. Really no way to search this, huh? So 1, 3. Oops. 3. I'm not gonna play the field spell. 2, clock. 3, 1, 2, 3. I think you don't need 3 of those. And then Trap Tricks. And do I have Arius in here? I don't even have Arius in here yet. Whatever. Trap Trick. Arius. And this is a lot of the deck already. Right, you can see here it adds up a lot. Daruma is rough. Like, you need to include Daruma, unfortunately. Crush card. I think we just play 2 crush cards and then 1 ring. I'm just really trying to make space for like the other cards. Ring of Destruction. And then we play Maxi, Ash, call by. And I want a prosperity in here as well is the problem. So how do I fit a prosp in? How much we need Ariana? Probably not much. And do this. So rollback, as good as it seems, I think kind of is not necessarily where we want to be going. Instead, focus on one thing, not the other. Prosp is banned. I guess it will be banned. Yeah, Prosp will be banned. Okay. You are right. Prosp is about to be banned. That's fair. So how do we make up for consistency then? Unfortunately, there isn't a good way. Is it just another Ariana then? Extrav and max out on the extra deck dragons? Yeah, probably. So you go up to 3 each of these. Because in reality, you don't need the extra deck. That's fine. And play Extrav. And your math here should be fine. Like, you shouldn't be banishing all your targets. And, I mean, the kind of goal here should be pretty obvious, right? We are trying to resolve the Crush Card Dragon on the first turn if we go first. That is our game plan. And that's what differentiates this from other Labyrinth decks. So this is where I want to be, because rather than focusing on other things the Lab does, it has an explicit kind of goal and works towards it. No rollback, no rollback. Rollback is already actually overrated in Labyrinth. It is really not that good. Yeah, it's good to discard off of Stovey and Chandelier, but if you don't have those, it sucks balls and it's inconsistent. So I don't think you actually need rollback here. You can play rollback as a one-of to search, but I'm not fond of that card. But I think this game plan is a lot more comprehensive and should work a bit better. You hate rollback in Lab as well? Yeah, I mean, I think it is a not great card. Yeah, this deck needs to greatly change. The problem with Thrust is it's terrible going first. It's not even terrible going first in this deck because you have actual traps to set off it. But the way this deck is built right now, you'll have a lot of clunky hands where you kind of can't do anything. And even when you draw cards like Arius, you can't actually combo with them because your deck is so spread out. 55 is too much. It's kind of lacking a bit of focus. Now, while it would be nice to search Fang and Critias, I think it is too idealistic. And then, yeah, I think Goods and Rollback are just bad cards in Labyrinth, especially if we're trying to be lean and cut the crap, which is what a lot of this is. This is the direction that I think I'd want to build it. And it's a simple fix. It's really just take the Furniture Labyrinth decks that have been doing well, remove some of the non-engine to add more engine, and the engine you're adding is just going to be the Fang package. And then we identify more appropriately what the Fang package is supposed to be doing. Once we've honed that down, we optimize in a way that is consistent as much as we can without being ineffective. And like that last point, without being ineffective, is why we've chosen to completely overhaul the thrusts and rollbacks. And that leaves us with this deck, which I think is more normal looking, but it still utilizes the cards as much as you consistently can without kind of going too far. Black Go Laughs, maybe? No. So again, it's trying to be concise here and condense engines into one and condense the deck down. Lab isn't a great deck of controlling yourself because Trap Trick and Lady Labyrinth are by all means some of the best toolbox cards in the game, as you can get, well, any trap card. But knowing not to just keep adding random trap cards is an important part of understanding building Labyrinth, because if you don't, you end up with a deck like this that is 55 cards and is not consistent. It's not good. It's straight up just not good. Having that restraint is important. Add D-Barrier over Ring of Destruction. D-Barrier is a fine card if you're playing against a lot of Tempai and you want more for Tempai. However, if you think those two are interchangeable, you are also missing the point. You can't exchange cards one for the other that don't serve the same purpose. If they aren't serving the same purpose, then what are you actually changing? Like, you're changing an entire dynamic in the deck, which might be fine to do, but if they're not analogous, you need to know that, understand that if you're making changes. But okay, I think we have an idea what to do. It's normal-ish Lab, but this is how you put a spin on decks in a controlled fashion that aren't garbage. More you know. That leaves us with the 3 decks for today's episode. Let me know what you guys think about these decks. Which of these 3 is the best? We got the Labyrinth Critias deck, Vanquish Soul Suship, which I'm really disappointed on, and then For Hire Pile. Which of those decks is the best from the beginning, and which of those decks is the best in concept? Now, in my mind, the best in concept and the best overall are probably both the first deck. And it's the inner pile lover in me rejoicing, but I love it. The biggest loser for me is for sure this deck. A deck which I thought, that looks cool. And the more I looked at it, the worse I got. It's like I had beer goggles on, or like I was drunk from looking at the first deck. And as I sobered up and realized at the fucking shit stain I was looking at, I realized how bad this deck is. This deck should not be built. Don't play this deck. I'm sorry, my friend who gave it in. Cool idea. And please keep hooking up ideas. However, not every idea is a winner. This one is a loser. Very much so. But remember, every deck that I've made, I've also made a fair bit of shitters as well. So don't be dissuaded too much. That being said, I feel like I was nicer this video. Nicer for the most part. So let me know what you guys think. If I need to be meaner in these videos, really amp up the meanness, or if I was in too good of an attitude to be filming this today and I should have waited till I was grouchy and ready to bite some heads off. That's going to be it for now. I'll see you guys all in the next Deckless Nightmares.